In this video we are going to be looking at the extremely popular Hornby City Express train set and comparing it to the London 2012 train set, and then we're going to be looking at the two other sets that Hornby produced, the Hitachi Class 395 EMU and the London 2012 train pack. In the City Express train set you get the more modern type of controller, and in the London 2012 train set you get the more old-fashioned controller. In a minute I'm going to be comparing these two controllers and see how well they perform. First of all, let's try the controller in the City Express set. Put that in there. Put this out. Here is an initial test with the controller supplied with the City Express set. Now notice there's an appreciable buzz. The noise is coming from the loco. Okay, enough of that. Now we'll do the same experiment with the older controller supplied with the London 2012 set. This controller also makes a buzz. It's not quite as noticeable. Listen to the buzz, folks. That's enough of that. Having looked at the two more modern controllers, let's look at the older controller that was supplied with Hornby train sets. There's noticeably no buzz. So if you get one of those older types of train sets, do not discard the controller, because the controller does not make a buzz. But there's not such good low speed control, so I think just a bit more difficult to... Nevertheless, I think of the three controllers, the oldest one is the best. We will now transfer the train to the inner track. Here you can compare the City Express set with the London 2012 set. You can see straight away they are made from the same mouldings. here the roof detail is picked out in gold, which I think is quite attractive, whereas here it's just the same colour as the rest of the roof, which it doesn't stand out as well. This model is fitted with traction tyres, which means that it tends to be a bit abrupt when it starts, can't get it to a lower speed. This model in the front, the London 2012 set, I have taken the traction tyres off and replaced it with a wheel without traction tyres. You can see that the wheels tend to skid a bit, but it's not as jerky. If you send off to eBay, you can buy a spare set of wheels for the Javelin, which is part number X6151. You get one wheel, one with traction tyres and one without, which means that if you don't want traction tyres on your train, you can swap out the one with the traction tyre. I've now fitted this purple loco with traction tyres. You'll see that when I turn the controller, that the starting is a bit more abrupt than it is without the traction tyre, but against that you've got the fact that it won't skid as much. Here we are comparing the Blue Rapier with the Hornby Railways series Javelin. You can see there's a bit more detail on here. There's a web address on the front of this one, whereas there isn't this side. And there's a bit more detail on the roof. The notable thing is this has a light in the roof, whereas this one doesn't. Looking at the two from above, there's not very much to choose between the two models. It's noticeable with the this model that there's slightly more detail on the pantograph. There's like an additional piece of wire underneath that holds the pantograph up, whereas this one, that detail is missing, but there's not very much to choose between the two of them. Comparing the two trains side by side from the front, it's noticeable that this train has a electric collector shoe, whereas in this train it's not modelled. So if you were running this train on third rail layout, then you'd be running without a third rail collector. So you could only be running where there's overhead catenary. Another feature worth noting is that this train has a fishtail type coupling, whereas this train, the Blue Rapier, has a hook and eye type coupling. If you buy a carriage, a separate carriage, some of them are supplied with alternative bogies, so you can use the additional carriage on either train. Another thing to note is that the Blue Rapier does not have a interior detail and nothing's visible inside, whereas with this you can see inside the carriage. Also of note is that the Blue Rapier only has plastic wheels, whereas the Railways range Blue Javelin has metal wheels. Looking at the two carriages from the underneath, it's very apparent that if you go for the Blue Rapier, you're going to be getting plastic wheels, whereas if you go for the Hornby Railways range Javelin, you're going to be getting metal wheels. On the Railways range Blue Javelin, is picked out in yellow, whereas on the blue rapier, it's not depicted. You can see straight away that the Railways range javelin has interior seating, whereas on the blue rapier, the windows are blacked out and you can't see anything inside the coach. What do you think, Wilkie? Not much.